Thank you for having me as part of the Aora conference. I'd like to acknowledge the people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional owners and custodians of the land on where I'm speaking today. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and recognise their continuing connection and contribution to this land. I would also like to extend that respect to any traditional owners who are with you at the Aora conference. The Metropolitan Waste and Resource Recovery Group, or Metro as we are known, is responsible for ensuring that metropolitan Melbourne has the capacity to manage the waste it generates now and for the next 30 years. Metro is a statutory body established under the Environmental Protection Act 1970. We work closely with our Victorian Government portfolio partners, including DELP, EPA Victoria, Sustainability Victoria, and the 6 other regional waste and resource recovery groups, as well as the 31 metropolitan councils that make up our metropolitan region. On the map, you can see the boundaries and municipalities of the 7 Victorian waste groups. We assist and work with Melbourne's 31 metropolitan councils to plan for waste management and resource recovery facilities and services, facilitate joint procurement of these facilities and services to provide better economic, environmental and waste management outcomes. We help build the capacity and knowledge of councils and their community of world's best practice waste minimisation and the opportunities and options available for delivering improved services and infrastructure. We do a lot of work to support councils in this space. Metro has undertaken collaborative procurements to support our council's curbside organic collections in the east, southeast and northwest of Melbourne. This work has led to 5 long-term organics processing contracts that will support 29 of the 31 metropolitan councils this financial year. Currently, Metro is in the process of strengthening our contingency arrangements by conducting a replacement, overflow and contingency procurement this year. This procurement seeks to appoint a panel of contractors across the whole of metropolitan Melbourne for councils to utilise should the need to do so arise. 22 metropolitan councils have transitioned from GO to FOGO, and there are 9 GO councils that are likely to transition to FOGO over the next few years. In FY20, 358,000 tonnes of curbside organics were processed through a Metro contracted organics facility. For the first 9 months of this financial year, we have already processed 316,000 tonnes. Metro also continues to work with councils to reduce contamination through behaviour change initiatives and contamination management plans. In addition, Metro helped build councils' capacity to establish, implement, monitor and evaluate new services through comprehensive evidence-based guides that we produce, training and social marketing campaigns to encourage behaviour change. Reducing food waste to landfill is a key priority of the Victorian Government's Recycling Victoria policy and action plan for waste and recycling, with targets to halve food waste and halve the amount of food and green waste sent to landfill by 2030. There are currently low levels of resource recovery in the waste avoidance in the C&I sector. Metro recently undertook research to identify priority materials and strategic opportunities that would provide the greatest impact in reducing C&I waste to landfill and the issues and opportunities facing the sector. We identified a need to focus on identifying and understanding where waste was mostly occurring, who the largest generations were by business type, and which materials pose the best opportunity for diverting significant volumes of waste away from landfill, as well as providing strong greenhouse gas recovery benefits. The food, retail and hospitality sector was found to be a sector that was generating and landfilling significant volumes of waste from food, plastics, paper, cardboard waste with very little recovery. To better understand the opportunities to reduce and recycle C&I waste in the food, retail and hospitality sector, Metro, with our partners at SV, commissioned a C&I waste audit composition at 433 different food, retail and hospitality sites, including cafes and restaurants, bakeries, pubs and bars, fruit, vegetable and grocery stores, takeaways and accommodation businesses. These audits were the most comprehensive analysis of its kind undertaken in Australia. It assessed 21 different types of waste and found that 70% of the waste generated by the food, retail and hospitality sector was food, plastic, paper and cardboard. On average, food accounted for 26% of C&I waste that was generated in metropolitan Melbourne annually. That's 248,000 tonnes. Of the organic waste that is generated, unavoidable food waste tended to be the most prevalent source of organic waste, typically accounting for about half of the organics waste stream, or 48%. The remaining food waste is split between avoidable food waste and possibly avoidable food waste. This represents food waste that could be recovered using established technologies for end-use application by existing and new end markets. Currently, as you can see on the graph, only 3% of food waste is recovered, whilst 97% goes directly to landfill. It means that there is a significant opportunity for businesses to recycle their food waste, either on site at their premises through a collection service or to look at reducing their food waste entirely. This food waste could be saved from landfill and instead recycled into compost, mulches, soil conditioners and potting mixes, or put to other uses. From these reasons, Metro has developed a C&I waste and resource recovery strategic directions paper. These directions highlight and identify opportunities for recovering food waste, plastics, paper and cardboard by putting them to better use as part of our circular economy approach. It lays a foundation to achieve large-scale diversion of this waste, in particular food waste, from landfill in metropolitan Melbourne. The focus is growing on the focus of our strategic directions paper is growing the knowledge base and creating awareness of the opportunities for businesses to reduce waste. The paper contains a range of actions and recommendations that will lead and support the sector to build capacity, gather data and intelligence, and form networks and partnerships that are critical to success. Our Food Waste Recycling Guide for Business is a comprehensive, practical guide on how food service related businesses can recycle their food waste. It helps them to reduce costs and be more sustainable. The guide is designed to help them identify a way in which they can reduce their food waste and/or install a food waste recycling system. The guide will also provide businesses with the tools they need to help them pick a recycling system that will suit them, whether that would be a food waste collection service, an on-site recycling system, or a precinct-based system in partnership with neighbouring businesses. And a little bit more on what specifically is contained in the guide. This resource contains advice on various on-site treatment systems, e.g. composting or worm farms, how to choose a system including siting, requirements for choosing either an on-site solution or a food waste collection solution, getting staff involved and how, links to food waste recycling suppliers and collectors, as well as information and tips on how to avoid or reduce food waste. The instructions and templates in the guide will assist them to conduct and audit a food waste assessment and calculate how much food waste they produce, assess where to place a bin collection system, consider how much time is needed to manage a separate recycling system, and understand what factors they will need to consider in choosing a recycling system. Small to medium-sized businesses and organisations in the food, retail and hospitality sector will be able to use the guide to help them transition to food waste recycling as opposed to continuing with their current landfill waste disposal practices. Metropolitan Melbourne councils are more and more supporting their community to recycle their food and garden waste. As well as FOGO services to households, which I mentioned before, many councils are also supporting businesses, including fresh food markets located in their municipality, such as the Queen Victoria Market, Dandenong South Melbourne and Prahran markets, to recycle food waste. There's also a lot of work to support multi-unit developments or MUDs. As councils roll out FOGO, they are undertaking regular and targeted bin inspections or audits to assess contamination rates and monitor the performance of their FOGO service. Information from the audits helps council officers determine where education is needed and strategies to use to drive and keep contamination rates low. Councils are putting greater focus on delivering strong community engagement and education to help their residents to understand how to use the FOGO bin correctly, where the material goes and what happens to it, as well as the range of compost products that are made for end market use. Some councils are also utilising recycled compost and mulch for circular economy products and projects, such as Melbourne City Council in the west of Melbourne. For more information on our new guide, our resources, as well as other activities that Metro support in our local region, please visit our website and also keep in touch by signing up to our monthly newsletter or follow us on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for having me at the AORA conference.